Welcome to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbie. Um, I'm the founder and president and CEO of GRCAM, the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. Um, on this platform, we discuss authentic urban news across the diaspora and what's happening in Africa as well. If you're joining us for the first time, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe to my YouTube page. We encourage our listeners worldwide to engage with us by leaving a public comment about the topics in the comments section below this audio podcast. Help make our audio podcast and our video podcast go viral by sharing my YouTube page with all of your friends on any social media sites that you are on. For right now, I'm reaching out to my Facebook family. But again, if you are on other social media sites as well, please share this video link or audio podcast link. This will help get the ball rolling. Disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only. It's based on public available reports and verified media sources. We fully comply with YouTube's community guidelines. We do not promote violence, hate, or misinformation in any form. This audio podcast is available in two forms. It's available as an audio as well as a written text in order for us to reach our audience. Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast is our Black media component. We would like to encourage our listeners again to subscribe to my Medium page. On there, you can find all of my speeches from my current speech or current presentation to when I started this stuff years ago. I provide my Medium transcript in the Medium section below this audio podcast. I use my platform to share with people on my friends list, those who are, I would say, Black artists, African artists, such as authors, poets, musicians, and Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs. All they have to do is make arrangements with me to come on this platform so that way they can promote their books, their business, their music. And if they have a small ministry, they can also share a 30-minute sermon with my listeners from the global community. After the show, I offer my guest speakers an incentive by teaching them how to create their own podcast, YouTube channel, and Wix website. So that way they can launch their own online business or online ministry. I want to do more than just news and social commentary. But again, at this point in time, this is where I'm at. It doesn't matter how bad I would like to get my Christian business up and running. Without financial support from the Black grassroots and the global African family, then I am unable to do my God-given assignment. which is to recruit like minded Black Americans beyond Chicago and like minded African immigrants across the United States of America to join the grassroots community activist movement, to become members. This is the whole purpose why I wrote my book in the first place, is to recruit. This is why I also created this platform to recruit brave and smart law-abiding citizens that have read my story and that's in agreement with what I'm trying to do to help improve Black America, specifically Black Chicago. Those who purchased my ebook, which is $9.99. You can download it to your smartphone. Then, if you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, then you will automatically become a GRCAM member. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing because you would be given an opportunity to be in to audition for roles in our Black empowerment films. And if you're a musician, you could we'll make arrangements with my attorney so that way you can promote your music in our films, in our stage plays, and also at our live events. So that's another advantage. And that's what makes us different than other, I would say, other Black grassroots organizations. Over here, we're about connecting. We're about not just sitting up here running off at the mouth, but I want to meet people in real life. But again, I want to first have my management team in place. This is the most difficult part that I'm going through, is to get my management team in place. But doing the best that I can. It's frustrating, telling you for real. I don't even wish this on my worst enemy, to go through what I'm experiencing. Just trying to create something positive and that can trying to give back to the African American community / the Black community, but I have little to no support, and that's just the sad thing about all of this. But life goes on, But this is why I'm doing all of this, trying to do something productive, build something, move from behind a computer, make our presence known in the African American community / the Black community, and build a relationship with the African immigrant community. That's all I'm trying to do, ladies and gentlemen. So bear with me because my speech that I'm reading right now, for some reason or another, the lining is not, my speech is going off the page and it's not too cool, but y'all just have to bear with me, just bear with me, please. We're going to get through this. So, yes. So again, I want to do more than just news and social commentary. But again, it takes capital. And that's why I wrote the book, in order to generate capital. That's why I created my virtual store, in order to generate capital. I want to generate capital so that way I can hire people to be on my management team. My management team would also, I would say, that's another word for my advisory board. But again, that's all I'm trying to do. So, and again, once I have my, I would say, like-minded Black Americans and African immigrants that's here within the United States. Um, I want them to first, like I say, read my story so that way I don't have to waste time explaining what this is all about. That's why I wrote the book. But our goal is to create the best African American business within the United States of America, and that is the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago for credibility before we expand the business to 10 African nations. Um, and so, if the global African family, if you're serious about me bringing my Christian business over to the African continent, then please purchase my ebook and read my story. And just, just share my information. That's going to help speed up the process. Secondly, encourage African immigrants who live within the United States of America who are from 10 African nations. They are South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. Encourage them to purchase my revised book. I understand you all came here to live out your American dream, and I understand and I get it. But I need your help. Unfortunately, I am unable to reach my own people, which is Black Americans, due to this slave mentality or the Willie Lynch. It's the same thing. And this is spiritual warfare at its best. I've been pushing my vision and plan to Black America, specifically Black Chicagoans, for the past 34 years. And I'm still on first base. I don't like it. And this is why I created my platform. I want the Black world to know my story. And that's how come I want to do this film project. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that you all came over here to live out, your American dreams and all that stuff. But it was my ancestors who fought and died to give you an opportunity to live your American dream during the civil rights era. I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I'm just saying they helped you, allow you to come here based on the struggles that they went through during the 60s and stuff like that. The reason why they wanted you all to come here is so that way that can build up Black, I would say the Black population. All right. I'm not talking about these other immigrants. They also benefit from the civil rights movement as well. East Indians, I would say Asians, even people from Latin America, all those quote unquote minorities, they all benefit off of our struggle, my ancestors' struggle. And so all I'm reaching, and hey, I'm just reaching out to African immigrants. I'm just being real, And again, yes, this is my film project is my last attempt. Some people say, Emmanuel, you're a failed leader, all that, all that kind of negative stuff. I brushed it off because, hey, I never got an opportunity to prove myself as being a leader. I'm not trying to, I'm not running for public office or anything like that. I'm just trying to connect with other like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants from those 10 African nations. I want them to read my story first so that they'll know what they're getting themselves involved with. Over here, I'm standing on business 10 toes down. Ain't no half stepping over here. I want to make sure that we all on one accord. And I want to get qualified people to be on my management team to help me run this thing, starting here first before we do anything. Our first objective is to try to get this book on that bestsellers list. So that way the whole black world would know who we are and what we're trying to do for our people that's trapped in American ghettos. Starting in Chicago. Now, I have plans. I wrote in the book about other cities, like at least 25 cities in the United States, but I'm scrapping that because I don't want to be doing this another 34 years. It's hard just trying to get here in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even focusing on the donations at this point. I'm just trying to get people to read the story. That's all. But this is where we're at. Because truth be told, the white supremacist financial elites only wanted people from, or I would just say white Europeans. That's all they wanted over here. They didn't want all these other groups. I'm just keeping it real. So, it was my ancestors that helped fought for this. And so, this is where we're at. I'm encouraging all of my listeners to not only purchase the book and read my story, and that's good, but if you live within the United States of America, then also join our film project team. Join that. Get behind me on that, so that way we could work together to raise the capital that we need for this film project. We want to raise 250,000. I wanted 500,000, but this is lowest I'm gonna go. Once I get that, then those that have communicated with me in terms of being on my film project, you're gonna have to come to Chicago if you want me to pay you. If you want to get paid, we're gonna do this here in the city of Chicago. And this is why I'm trying to move my members from behind the computer. Anybody can talk all kind of stuff behind a computer screen, but we're not cowards over here. I want you to make yourself known to me. I need boots on the ground here in Chicago. That's all I'm saying. And also, this is not my burden alone. This is a shared burden, And so I'm calling upon Black millennials, Generation Z. I'm calling upon Black content creators as well as African content creators that have a large audience. Please invite me on your platform so I can promote my book, so I can promote my film project, and ask me any questions that you would like to ask me. I have nothing to hide. That's how come I wrote my story. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for legitimate artists to be on my film project team. Those are film directors, producers, actors, stage managers, professional fundraisers, technical directors, and marketers. But first, read my story. Make sure that you know, so that way you'll know what you're getting yourself involved with. Over here, I do not want to sit up here and complain about the white man and the government. We're going to do the best that we can to solve Black issues at the grassroots level. And once we get it popping here in the city of Chicago, I'm turning the business over to my management team. And I'm taking my business to South Africa and all those other African nations that I mentioned. But I need African immigrants to be on board with this. So, So the whole purpose of us doing this film project is again to get our story out there for the Black world to know who we are and what we're trying to do. It's also going to help put me in a better position financially. So that way I can purchase property in Chicago, Illinois, buy office equipment, and hire qualified Black middle class professionals and qualified African immigrants. I want the Black middle class professionals um, that have these qualifications that I want in our business, and that is Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. I want to make sure that this business is going to be effective and successful for years to come, for the next 100 years. I'm called by my Lord and Savior Jesus / Yahshua to rebuild Black Chicago, similar to that of Nehemiah, who was called by God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah used qualified engineers, architects, and inventors to rebuild a new city. In contrast, I'm seeking Black middle class professionals and African immigrants who hold degrees, at least associate's degree or above. But let's keep it a buck. The white man is not stopping Black Americans from purchasing my revised book. The white man is not stopping Black Americans from buying items from my virtual store. The white man is not stopping Black Americans from donating to my film project. That's a personal choice. That's Willie Lynch in real time, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what I'm up against, a 400-year-old mentality. And if Black America do not reject this slave mentality and come against this head on, then that's going to be the fall of Black America, unfortunately. Um, Again, my revised book is my credibility. Also, I have been paying out of pocket for this business title since 2010. I pay the city, state, and the IRS every year. And basically, it's like I'm just wasting money. But I believe in our Black youth. I want to do something. But I can't do this stuff alone. And I'm not sitting up here begging people to work with me. I'm not doing that. Doggone, if you ain't interested, keep it moving. I'm trying to connect with like-minded Black Americans. That's why I'm online. I'm trying to connect with like-minded African immigrants. I'm trying to connect with the global African family, because I'm trying to make this happen. Some people say, "Oh, Emmanuel, you're not serious," and I tell those people you're a lie. And if anybody disrespect me like that, I would delete them off my friends list. And we will remain strangers for life, because I didn't put in 34 years of my life trying to get this thing off the ground for a joke. That's my credibility, and I stand on that. And that's why my business is going to be membership based. Because once I start making money and this business materialize, everybody in Chicago is going to want to be a part of this business. But that's why I want to have protocol in place, so when I'm dead and gone, the business can continue and protocol will be put in place, that we're raising the bar. We're separating ourselves from off-code Negroes, hardened criminals, degenerates, pedophiles, con artists. They ain't going to be a part of my business. We're raising the bar. So This is what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm trying to say all this stuff, before the new year, because in the new year, I want to focus on, again, trying to recruit, um, I would say, brave and smart Black Americans that's beyond Chicago, that's going to be part of my management team. I'm going to continue to do that. So that's where we at. Upcoming events. Monday, December 29th, we have guest speaker Lady Vicky from Ghana and evangelist Dr. Julia Danley from Georgia. Tuesday, December 30th, we have guest speaker Apostle Jeremiah from Cameroon. We will return on the first week of January 2026. Today we're dropping a special edition before we go into our last presentation of 2025, because a lot of things have been happening. And, I just wanted to make sure that, I didn't want to bring in old stuff in the new year. I want to make sure I get all this stuff out. So that's how come we're doing this special edition of this presentation. I want to invite all of my listeners worldwide to join our cause, help stop the genocide in American ghettos, and be a part of the conversation that are shaping the future of our inner cities in America, starting in Black Chicago. Please subscribe to my YouTube page and hit that like button. And if you want to really support our work, then please purchase my ebook and read my story for yourself. If you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, specifically Black Chicago, then you will automatically become a GRCAM member. If you live in the United States of America, then consider joining our film project team. So that way you can work with me directly to help, come on this platform and work with me to help get this film project fully funded. Also be part of our audition panel and part of our film crew. That's what I would like. And again, thanks for joining our membership. The vision is to build a bridge between the African American community or the Black community and the African immigrant community. That's what GRCAM is all about. Building this bridge is the key to a much bigger mission. My objective is to connect with like-minded Black middle-class professionals to join my management team and like-minded, qualified African immigrants in America to join my management team as well. So together, we can build the best African American business within the United States, and that is the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. Our goal is to encourage the diaspora to export our talents and skills in rebuilding Africa's infrastructure and bringing business development to Africa and vice versa, so that it will be a win-win situation for both Black Americans and Africans. Nobody works harder than Black Americans. And the reason why is because as a collective, we have a buying power of $2 trillion. But yet, the white supremacist financial elites try to tell all these other groups that Black or African Americans or Black Americans are lazy. They're the ones that's lazy because they had slaves, my ancestors. They behind when pick those cotton, be in the cotton fields, picking that stuff themselves. So we reject the white supremacist rhetoric. Somalians and other non white immigrants repeat that mess. Now, all these other groups are looking for support when ICE shows up. The Somalians used to say, I ain't black, I'm Somalian. So after the ICE shows up, um, then all of a sudden, Somalians is calling for unity. Let let me ask the Somalian community a question. Why now? Why are you calling for unity with Black Americans? Flooding social media at the same time when the Trump administration has expanded its deportation targeting your community. All right? Why is Black and Somali solidarity suddenly important? Why didn't this energy exist when y'all first arrived in America? Why didn't you choose unity from the beginning instead of separating yourself from us? You know what I'm saying? I'm just putting this out here because that was the last stuff I talked about on my last podcast, and I'm bringing it up again because I keep seeing videos about Somalia. And so this change isn't because there was some great awakening, but it was a threat. And now they need allies. Black Americans know how to organize against oppression because we've been going through that for the past 400 years. So nobody knows the white supremacist financial elites better than us. Nobody. And how to build networks of resistance. What happened to those negative talking points about Black Americans being lazy, being criminals, and being the reason for our neighborhood decline? Where was the coalition building when Black activists were fighting for criminal justice reform and economic justice? They wanted closeness to whiteness, and that could somehow exempt them from being treated as Black Americans. You can have all the money, all the fame you want, but when white America decides to remind you that you're Black, no amount of money will protect you. We didn't beg you to identify with us. We didn't plead for solidarity. We, Black Americans, knew that eventually white America would show her true colors. You haven't apologized for the anti-Blackness from your community. And not all Somalians engage in this type of behavior, but I'm just going to say a large portion does. And I see that on the videos, and that's how come, I'm doing this special presentation right now, because we need to talk about this stuff. And I want you all to leave a public comment about this topic. There are a few Somalian individuals and families who recognize the shared struggle from day one, who built genuine relationships with Black Americans, who stood in solidarity without needing a crisis to motivate them. Healing requires acknowledgement. You can't repair what you won't recognize as being broken. You can't rebuild trust without first admitting you broke it. Real reconciliation has steps. First, you acknowledge the wrong. You name it specifically. Second, you apologize genuinely. Third, you do the work to change the behavior. the attitudes within your community that allowed the harm to happen in the first place. So you have to correct that. Fourth, you give it time. Trust is built slowly through consistent action over an extended period of time. None of that has happened. The Somalian community has jumped straight to we need to unify without touching any of the steps mentioned above, which makes unity impossible. We've reached these other groups, or we witness these other groups that tries to use closeness to the Black struggle to get access to resources, then turn around and start being distant from the Black culture. Um, and we're tired of being used. That's all. If the Somalian community genuinely wants unity with Black Americans, here's what needs to be done. Start by having honest conversations within your community about anti-Blackness, about using this word the Jarir mentality. Call out the people in your community who use anti-Black rhetoric. Stop the practice of some Somalian business owners discriminating against Black Americans who show up in your stores. Participate in Black American issues and support our reparations. That's important. Stand against police brutality, advocate for Black economic empowerment, educational equality, and criminal justice reform. Defend Black Americans when white supremacist financial elites attack us. Until then, you're just going to have to fight your own battles. That's all I can say. Because Black Americans at this point, we're going to maintain boundaries from these other groups. Because we're not the civil rights generation. And I'm on code with that with other Black grassroots that's taking that type of stand. We're going to protect our interests and our resources. We're going to remain on business and work with those who work with us. Or in other words, support those who support us. We're a community with our own struggles, our own priorities. If you want to unify with us, you're going to have to earn it. We wish the Somalian community no harm. We understand their terror of living under threat of deportation, of their families being separated, and state violence. But Black Americans have been living under that threat for centuries. That's how come we know it better than any other groups. But understand, your fear doesn't obligate us to forget about your anti-Blackness. If you're serious about unity, prove it. Not with social media posts when you're scared, but with real solidarity when you're struggling. Not with temporary alliance, but with permanent commitment to dismantle anti-Blackness within your community. The issue is they didn't want to unify with Black Americans. Y'all came over here, you could have went to Europe, you could have went to Canada, but you decided to come to the United States, and so you're here, and you didn't want to you brought that tribalism over here, so you got to break that. Come out of that. Africa must come underneath the GRCAM nationalism, which will compete against Pan-Africanism. We're going to compete against that because Pan-Africanism has been out for 125 years. And over here with GRCAM, we're not just want to sit up here and run off at the mouth. We want to build, we want to work within the community. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to sit up here and be running off at the mouth. We want to make our presence known in the African American community or the Black community. We want to become an economic base there. We want to be able to provide jobs for Black youth and African youth to put money in their pockets so that they can feed their families. That's real. You shouldn't sit up here and take me for a joke saying that ha ha, your business ain't going nowhere. That's a straight up turnoff. And those that said that to me, all I can tell you is that I better not catch nobody in our mandatory orientations that have disrespected me, because I am going to embarrass you. I swear on my mom's grave. I'm not none of Jesus. Yes, I forgive people, but doggone it, there's consequences. Get under my skin, we strangers for life. That's how I get down. We will get more things done faster because we will be under one tribe, one voice, and on one accord. That's GRCAM. In each African nation, we set up local chapters. We will work together, I would say, Black Americans and Native Africans. We're going to be on one accord. And we want to replicate the business, like I say, starting in 10 African nations. I'm just trying to do this within my lifetime. Doggone it. It's like I say, it's been 34 years. I'm still on first base. It's a straight up turnoff. But I promise you, soon as this is why I'm reaching out to African immigrants from 10 African nations to help speed up this process. Doggone it. I don't need 1,000 people. Shucks, I'm just looking for a good 25 African immigrants throughout the United States that's brave enough and smart enough. Make yourself known to me. I can't reach Black Americans. They up here acting funny style. But once they see us working together, once they see we build GRCAM Chicago, and they see it materialize in the Black community, mark my words, all of them will want to be on board with us. But I require your thumbprint to be part of my business. I would require that you pass our criminal background checks, and I want every person to sign a contract, which is the community pledge. Again, I am not having any con artists in my business. We're gonna hold those persons accountable and have protocol in place. There's consequences for those con artists that want to call themselves, want to be a part of this business. All I'm asking for is a chance. I'll show you better than I can tell you. But like I say, God give us free will. So hey, at least I'm trying. I'm doing the best that I can. But I want to make sure none of my members have to go through this stuff. All right, so let's see. There's stereotypes on both sides. Most African Americans view Nigerians as scammers, and most Nigerians view African Americans as lazy, coming from single parent households, and coming from, I would say, coming from the Black ghetto. These images come from the mainstream media, which is a stereotype. I see nobody's having these conversations like that now, talking about Black Americans are lazy or calling us akatas. I don't hear that now. Our purpose for GRCAM is to unify with like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants and confront these stereotypes on both sides. We will have respect for each culture, our cultural differences, um, learn how to work together, and replicate the business so we can bring it to the African continent. Um, for example, Black Americans, we built Black Wall Street, which was a prestigious Black community in the United States. In that community, um, we had banks, we owned banks, owned schools, we own our own grocery stores, etc. But the white supremacist financial elites claimed that a white woman was attacked. They used that as an excuse to justify destroying the whole town, which was known as the Tulsa Race Massacre. Many African Americans were killed, all because they were doing, I would say, they were self reliant. And this was during Jim Crow. Black Americans have always faced being targeted and sabotaged. None of these other groups have had our experience. None of these other groups were on those plantations. And that's why we deserve our reparations. Our ancestors were forced on those slave ships and brought over here against their will to make money for the white supremacist financial elites off the back of Black labor. We face we face certain obstacles and barriers that other groups didn't have to experience. Then that's just how it is. This is why I want Black immigrants to be more respectful when they come over here, because it was my ancestors that put in the blood, sweat, and tears to build this nation. During the 1960s, the Black Panther Party tried to protect the African American community against police brutality. They created a food program to feed Black children before they went to school. But our own government at that time was under J. Edgar Hoover. He was over the FBI. He labeled the Black Panthers as a terrorist group. And that's, it is what it is. It's such a turnoff. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, how in the world those people are terrorists when all they was doing was trying to protect, our people from police brutality and, racism and all that stuff. And then they opening up a free, I would say, tip of my tongue. What would I call it? Let's say free food for children. You know what I'm saying? That's not threatening no threat to the white community or white America. But this is what Black people went through. You know what I'm saying? Calling them terrorists. A lot of them were jailed, and some of them were killed. And I talked about that also in my book as well. But notice, we still have a white extremist group called the Ku Klux Klan walking around. They got guns and everything. They're still a threat. Neo-Nazis and militia. But notice they're not They're not going after those persons. They have websites and everything trying to recruit people. So that's that double standard mess. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. I want African immigrants to understand we were stripped of our language, our religion, culture, and this gave rise to the Willie Lynch letter. This is why I want all of my members to know about Willie Lynch. This is what my film is going to be about. It's about my experience, but I'm called to come again to fight against that slave mentality. The main thing that's holding us up. And the reason why I'm having such a hard time getting Black Americans on board is because a lot of Black Americans do not want to see me have a successful Black business. That's just a doggone truth. Even my own family. I'm like, good Lord. But hey, here's what it is. Like I say, once we get this thing up and running here in Chicago, I'm turning the business over and I want to spend the rest of my life on the African continent, working with African families that want more out of life. I don't want to sit up here and be talking to people that just don't, they don't care. Doggone, if you want to stay in a burning house, then burn. I want to work with those that want to get out of a burning house, that want to survive. Because Black America at this point in time have two choices. Either embrace annihilation or embrace survival. This is the seriousness of this stuff. It's going to get worse. Black Americans were taught to hate ourselves due to that Willie Lynch letter. We were taught not to be comfortable in our own skin. And I think it's affects us mentally. Of course it does. All the turmoil that we brought through, that our ancestors have been through, we shouldn't even be here on this planet. But God allowed us to survive. But we have to get rid of this slave mentality that we're taught. We were taught to hate ourselves. And that's affecting our, that's just affecting us as a group of people. And that's how come GRCAM is here, for us to heal, for us to separate ourselves from the enemy within. That's all this is about. The mainstream media portrays African American negatively in movies. You don't see us being portrayed as successful Black Americans, but instead we're being portrayed as hardened criminals. Things like the 50 Cent Power miniseries, just promoting about being a drug dealer, or Empire, even though that miniseries went off. It used to be on Fox, but all that negativity. I'm trying to create something positive based on my own experience. That's why Black empowerment films is important. We have to tell our own stories. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to create both a nonprofit organization for single Black mothers, single Black fathers, and low-income two-parent families that's within the Black community, as well as trying to get my for-profit business up and running, which will focus on GRCAM members, building our own and controlling our own community grocery store, community healthcare clinic, and community housing. Again, we will learn how to cook traditional African dishes and vice versa, and share each other's culture. We're about helping each other to heal from the scars of slavery and colonization. So Black Americans will heal from that um, slave mentality, and African immigrants will heal from that colonized mindset. The main problem we have as African people throughout the diaspora is years of lost history, and we got to reclaim that as well. Our presentation for today, Understanding GRCAM Vision for Black America and Africa. Other groups are starting to wake up after delineation and why group economic matters. Question at hand is how Western nations became wealthy. The answer, through African skill and African labor. Let's start with the United States. America's uh, entire early economy from the 1600s to the civil right to the Civil War was built off the backs of enslaved Africans through crops such as tobacco, rice, sugar, and cotton. It didn't just um, make slave owners rich, it made the entire nation rich. Cotton alone became the backbone of the global community, global economy. At its peak, it accounted for over half of all of U.S. exports. Now that wealth created generational wealth for the white supremacist financial elites and their descendants, even to this day. That's why there's a $10 trillion wealth gap between Black Americans and white Americans. And that's why over here we demand $5 trillion. You know what I'm saying? To help, break that generational wealth gap in the form of reparations. Slave labor helped fund banks, railroad, insurance companies, and American Industrial Revolution. Major banks today obtained its wealth by financing or insuring enslaved Africans. Our ancestors were human capital. African people didn't only build America through forced labor, they built infrastructure, laying railroad tracks, digging canals, constructing ports and forts. Our ancestors built Washington, D.C. Black Americans created different music genres such as jazz, rock, blues, hip hop, the cultural exports that made America a superpower. And what's crazy is that even after centuries of dehumanization and being locked out of education, land, capital, and freedom, we still thrived. As I mentioned in my revised book, European nations became wealthy after the 1884 Berlin Conference. Then all of a sudden, these European countries imposed colonization on Africa and is viewed as the quote unquote scramble for Africa. These European nations included Belgium, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain. They didn't just make their wealth from crops alone. In Africa, Brazil, and the Caribbean, they made their wealth from diamonds, gold, minerals, and oil. Historians estimate that Britain's Industrial Revolution, the very foundation of modern Europe, was financed in large part by profits from enslaved African labor in the Caribbean and in Brazil. European banks grew wealthy by lending to slave traders and planters. Entire cities in Europe owe their architect, their universities with profit from enslaved African labor. This is all documented history because they want to whitewash, American history about, what happened to my ancestors. Hold on, y'all. I have to take a little break. I got to drink me some water, so bear with me. Okay, let's see. Imagine what we could do, or imagine what we could build if we redirect our skills towards the African continent, a continent that is waiting to rise. Because here's the truth: the white supremacist financial elites never wanted us to realize that our ancestors have already built the West. It's time for GRCAM members, because you're the ones that I'm reaching out to. We're gonna take the lead. GRCAM members. It's time for GRCAM members to rebuild the African American community or the Black community. We're going to do that. And then we want to expand the business to 10 African nations. I already mentioned them. Africa needs the diaspora, and the diaspora needs Africa. Bottom line, Africa is standing at one of the most important turning points in modern history. African cities are rising, or are raising highways, tech hubs, creative districts whose landscapes are transforming. And the biggest driver of it all is African people. By 2050, it's estimated that Africa will have the largest workforce on earth. 1 in every 3 young people alive will be African. The world's future doctors, engineers, creators, scientists, and entrepreneurs. Africa is building its own economic foundation. We've talked about the African continental free trade before on this platform, which is creating a unified market of 1.3 billion people. African economies are just consuming the world's innovation. They're creating it. And global power sees this. The US, China, Europe, Russia, India, the Gulf states, everyone is competing for influence on the continent. Africa is retaking her rightful place in the world stage. Africa has the resources. It has youth, the culture, the land. But Africa does not have enough engineers, enough system builders, enough policymakers, enough negotiators, enough high-tech specialists to match the skills of its potential. So the continent is rising, but it risks rising without ownership. This is where I need the global African family to get serious and work with me and get in my revised book on that bestsellers list and get behind our film project as well, so that we can own and control our own Black institutions and African institutions, known as the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of South Africa. This is why both Africa and the diaspora matters. We have to build it first in America, specifically Black Chicago, for credibility. Africa has the momentum, but middle class Black Americans have the expertise, the exposure, and the global network that can turn that monument into real power. This is once in a lifetime opportunity. This is also once in a generation moment where Africa could either rise with strength or rise in a way that benefit everyone else but African people. If we lose Africa, we lose everything. Black America is the missing link. What could happen if Black America actually answered the call? Not all Black Americans, just a few. I'm talking about a I'm talking about our Black scientists, Black content creators, Black entrepreneurs, Black engineers, and Black educators. If our ancestors were able to build the West under oppression, imagine what we could build for Africa with good intentions. Even a small reconnection, strategies, consistency, um, collaboration would change the game. Imagine Africa's tech hubs infused with African American engineers. Imagine African hospitals who have Black American doctors. For example, Nigeria accounts for over 80% of doctors in the US. Imagine what that could be if they were to return to Nigeria with if they were would return to Nigeria, this would accelerate Africa's development by a decade. A stronger and smarter Africa would give Black Americans global leverage. For the first time, Black Americans who are GRCAM members would have access to our own homeland, politically, economically, and culturally. This would change the way we are treated in the US, in Europe, Canada, South America, and in the Caribbean. It would change how we negotiate. It would change how we're represented. Most of all, it would change how our children view themselves. This would change a psychological shift because for centuries, so many of our identity has been shaped by displacement and trauma, being taken away, scattered, but the moment the diaspora reconnects with the continent, we will stop seeing Africa as a place we left and start seeing it as a place where we can build. The brilliance that built the wealth of America, the creativity that shaped global cultures. Here's the hard truth about returning to Africa. First, many Black Americans don't like corruption. Um, when you've grown up in a system where things work, where opportunities are there, it's hard to picture starting over in a place where nothing is guaranteed. Black, Black Americans may fear that locals will view us as outsiders, not as displaced Africans. The trauma of our ancestors being kidnapped, forced on slave ships, stripped of our language, land, religion, and identity. Reconnecting isn't just a flight, it is an emotional journey. In Africa, you have hundreds of cultures, different laws, languages, markets, and expectations, and that's being real. And then there's the cold truth many will never say out loud. Some diaspora communities don't fully trust African governments to protect their investments, honor their contributions, or just treat us as equal partners. These are real obstacles. If Africa wants its children to return, it has to be prepared, the home. It has to build systems that are clear, fair, transparent, and safe. It has to offer opportunities. It has to treat the diaspora not as wallets, not as tourists, but as displaced Africans or collaborators or equal partners. The digital ID reforms, the diaspora bonds and visas and rival policies, the special investment zones, the birthright initiatives, the cultural restoration is all a start. In order for this partnership to work, both Native Africans and Black Americans have responsibilities. On the African side, Africa has to become easier to engage. Black American has also have to try, because the truth is hesitation doesn't mean disconnection. It means Black Americans have to be careful. This is why I am trying to build GRCAM Chicago, so that we can be a model and replicate the business in each African nation that we set up local chapters. That's why I'm saying, if I can't get African immigrants on board, then there's no point of me going to Africa. I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there. That's why it's important that African immigrants in America step up. I'm trying to do something. I'm not on here to be running off at the mouth. The main question is, what does it mean to return to Africa? Because returning to Africa does not mean buying a one-way ticket and relocating in Africa. That's not realistic for most people. When I talk about returning to Africa, what I mean is reconnecting, investing, and rebuilding in whatever way aligns with your life, your skills, your resources, and your calling. And I also want Africans to reconnect, invest, and rebuild in our inner cities, starting in Black Chicago. For some, that means for some that may mean relocation, but for others it may look completely different. For some, it may look like investing in a business abroad or mentoring young Africans virtually. For others, it may look like consulting for a local company or strategy, or launching a startup that operates in one or two or three countries. It could look like partnering with other entrepreneurs or visiting once a year to contribute, building business relationships. It can be intellectual, financial, emotional, cultural, digital, or even seasonal. Africa doesn't need every diaspora member to relocate back to the continent. Africa needs the diaspora to plug into the continent so she can rise to her potential. Reconnection is a two-way street. The diaspora has to play a role, but Africa leaders also have to play an equal role. If you are serious about the diaspora returning to the continent and bringing our skills and talents, education, expertise, their networks, and their capital, then Africa must create a system that welcomes them. The intention has to be matched with real action. That means real structural policies, policies that make it easier to work, policies that make it easier to invest, policies that make it easier to live, build, and belong. It means simplifying the visa process, creating long term residency options for the African diaspora by offering dual citizenship pathways, protecting diaspora investment through transparent legal systems, building digital por- portals that remove bureauc- bureaucracy, red tape, ensuring that land rights and business registrations are clear, predictable, and fair, establishing diaspora investment zones and tax incentives, implementing anti corruption safeguards that encourage trust, and creating a diaspora safety net. Because no matter how passionate this call is, no matter how beautiful the vision is, and no matter how big the opportunity is, you cannot ask people to return to a system that isn't ready to receive them. And that's the truth. And we're seeing some of this in Ghana with the year of return in 2019. The point is, Black American is willing, but people cannot build in places where the rules aren't clear and the doors of opportunity is not there. When you look at our history, when you look at what our ancestors built for other nations, when you look at what our ancestors created with nothing but their minds, their hands, and their will to survive, you begin to realize we have never been the problem. America knows it, Europe knows it, the Caribbean knows it, the whole world knows it. And now Africa and Black America must know it too. Africa is standing at the crossroads that only comes once in a century, a moment where 1.3 billion people, trillions in resources, the world's youngest population, and a rising economic force are converging at the same time. It takes more, it takes more than potential. It takes skills. It takes systems. It takes networks. It takes global experience. It takes vision. That's why Black Americans and Native Africans matter. We must build GRCAM Chicago first for credibility before we expand the business to 10 African nations and build the Africa that we want to see. If our ancestors helped build the wealthiest nations in the world, the United States of America and European nations, just imagine what we could build if we use our talents and skills to rebuild Africa and Africa's economy. Imagine an Africa with first world schools, an Africa that creates its own technologies, and Africa that will produce its own medicines, an African shaping global culture, an African negotiating from a place of strength and not weakness. Imagine and imagine the global African family decides to it's decide that we're done building up someone else's economy. It's time we build our own. That's what does um return to Africa means to you. What role do you believe you can play in shaping Africa's future? Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our second topic, other groups are starting to wake up after delineation. Black Americans have been warning these other groups about racism for decades. Suddenly, they are starting to experience what we've been saying all along for centuries. there's a shift happening in America since the delineation movement. The delineation movement refers to a recent cultural and social effort within the African American community or Black community by American descendants of slavery, which is ADOS, foundational Black Americans, which is FBAs, and descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, DAS FM. And that's the one that we gravitate to over here. With our distinct identity, unique history, especially regarding U.S. slavery, the cultural contributions separate from other Black diaspora groups such as African immigrants or Afro-Caribbean immigrants for purpose of recognition, political clarity, specific concerning reparations, and cultural acknowledgement. Other minority groups have spent years telling Black Americans that we are exaggerating things, that we are making things about race, that we're overplaying the race card, that we need to work harder and stop making excuses. Now, all of a sudden, they are experiencing the wrath of white supremacy, and now they understand that white America does not see them as equal. For example, Asian Americans are protesting the colonization of their spaces, such as H Mart. White America tried to claim and gentrify their grocery stores as their cool new discovery. The Latino community are starting to create videos about being manipulated and terrorized by ICE agents. They were told that ICE would only target hardened criminals and illegal immigrants, but they were sweeping up everyone regardless of status or contribution. East Indian Americans are watching in real time as white Americans reveal their true feelings about them in this country. Now, all of a sudden, these other groups are saying exactly what Black Americans have been saying for centuries. Systematic racism still exists, and we're all targets. The white supremacist financial elites uses different groups as buffer class between white America and Black America to cause division among other groups. These other groups believe that if they work hard enough, assimilate enough, and distance themselves from Black people, they would be safe. They believe that anti-Black racism was our problem, and suddenly they want solidarity with us. Black Americans are not celebrating your pain. We're not glad that you are experiencing the wrath of white supremacy. We tried to warn you, and you chose to align with the oppressor against us instead of building a coalition. White supremacy is not just against Black people, it is a system that targets all non white people. If these other groups accept that, then they would have to give up their model minority status, their position as buffer class between white Americans and Black Americans. Now they are being forced to see what they refuse to acknowledge. H Mart is a Korean American grocery store chain that serves the Asian community. It provides food, ingredients, and produce that are essential to maintaining cultural connection and culinary traditions. For decades, these stores existed without attention from white America. But as gentrification has spread, as white America have moved into traditional Asian neighborhoods, suddenly white Americans are flooding H Mart, treating it like an exotic adventure, posting about it on social media, and fundamentally changing the culture and atmosphere of a space that was created by and for the Asian community. And when Asian American pushed back, saying this is their space, this is a perfect case of cultural appropriation. This is neo colonization. They were met with the same dismissiveness, the same accusation of overreacting, the same, why are you making it about race? The same thing they tell Black Americans. This is exactly what happened when white Americans discovered Black cultural spaces, when they gentrified our neighborhoods, when they appropriated our music, our fashion, and when they turned our culture into a commodity while while simultaneously devaluing and disrespect and displacing the people who created it. Black Americans have been protesting against gentrification, cultural appropriation, and the neo colonization of Black spaces for decades. But when told we were being divisive, that we should be flattered, that imitation is the highest form of flattery, that we were gatekeeping, that culture is meant to be shared. But now that is happening to the Asian community, all of a sudden, it's a legitimate complaint. Suddenly, racism is real. In contrast, let's talk about Latino community and ICE raids, because this is another example of a group that was lied to and manipulated to vote against their own interests. Many voters, especially Cuban Americans and other conservative Latinos, supported immigration policies because they were told that law enforcement would only target hardened criminals and illegal immigrants. They were told that if they were here legally, work hard, and contribute to society, then they would have nothing to worry about. Some even supported these policies because they wanted to be accepted by white America, that it would prove their legitimacy and their belonging. And now they are watching as ICE raids sweep through their community indiscriminately, as legal residents are also detained. American citizens are questioning the harshness, as families are torn apart regardless of their status or their contributions. And all of a sudden, they are realizing that white America does not distinguish between legal and illegal, between good immigrants and bad immigrants, between the ones who did everything right and the ones who came over here out of desperation. White supremacy view Latinos as brown people who do not belong. Black Americans tried to warn all these other groups, but they didn't listen. And now reality is kicking in. Once you give the state the power to target one group based on identity, that law will expand and that criteria will shift. Eventually, everyone who is not white will be affected. The moment white America feels threatened by your numbers or your political influence, you will be targeted. Now you all are learning the hard way that white supremacy is not loyal. It only uses you until you are no longer needed. For example, East Indian Americans have been embraced the model minority myth, celebrating high educational attainment and economic success and believe that their achievement would insulate them from racism and get closer to white America. Some even align with conservative politics, supporting policies and politicians like the MAGA crowd that are hostile to Black Americans and other minority groups. They believe they had transcend race, that they had achieved a level of success and assimilation that made them closer to white America. As East Indian Americans are becoming more visible, as they achieve more political influence, as their population grows, white America is showing their true colors. For example, they are publicly making videos and writing racist jokes about politicians who are East Indian Americans. The resentment is becoming more visible, the attacks are becoming more frequent, and the message is clear. You are not one of us. White America uses other minority groups as buffers, as model minorities, as examples to have them compete against Black Americans. Racist white people tell us to look at Asians. They came here with nothing and succeeded. Look at the Latinos. They work hard and do not complain. Look at East Indians. They value education and family. Why can't Black Americans do the same? But the white supremacist financial elites fail to mention that they are the ones who are targeting and sabotaging us. These other groups don't have the same history that we have in this country. They use other groups to justify their anti Black racism, to argue that if other groups can succeed, then Black failure must be a character flaw rather than a result of specific historical and systematic oppression. Many people from these other groups accepted this role, embraced this position became because became it came with benefits, social acceptance, economic opportunities, political access, and most importantly, distance from Blackness. White supremacy do not see any non-white group as equals. It uses hierarchies of skin tone to divide and conquer, to prevent multiracial coalition building, to keep oppressed groups fighting each other instead of fighting the white supremacist system. The moment these groups become too successful or too numerous or too much political influence, the tolerance ends and the racism becomes explicit and aggressive. And that is exactly what's happening now in 2025. White America is afraid of becoming a minority because their numbers are declining. White America is no longer the majority they once were because of their birth rates. The projection that America will become a non-white majority nation within a 20-year period. This has created panic, anxiety, and fear. White America will adopt to a South African apartheid style form of governance, meaning a small percentage of white Americans will rule the majority of non-whites. Non-white groups, regardless of education, income, assimilation, or political alignment. This is why the racism has increased. This is why Asian Americans are being targeted. This is why Latino Americans are being terrorized by ICE agents. This is why East Indian Americans are experiencing backlash. This is why Muslim Americans have been scapegoated. This is why indigenous people are being erased. The model minority myth is being discarded because it's no longer useful. The buffer groups are being abandoned because white America no longer needs them to cause confusion among other groups. And all of these other groups are suddenly discovering what Black Americans have been saying all along. White supremacy is not about individual behavior, personal achievement, or cultural assimilation. It is about power, dominance, and maintaining racial hierarchy and everyone else beneath them. Solidarity requires recognizing our shared oppression and building a coalition based on mutual respect and shared liberation. For too long, other minority groups rejected the solidarity, and now they're all paying the price of that rejection. As um, as white American numbers decline, as demographic shift continues, as white panics intensify, the racism will become more aggressive, more violent, and more explicit. We have seen this pattern throughout history. Reconstruction led to Jim Crow laws and the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. Civil rights gain led to mass incarceration, the war on poverty, and the war on drugs. The election of a black president led to the rise of white nationalism. Every advance toward equality has been met with violent backlash. The racism will get worse, and all non white groups will be targeted. The only path forward is collective, resistant, multiracial coalition building and a united front against white supremacy. The coalition must be built on genuine solidarity, on mutual respect, on shared sacrifice, and on the understanding that all of our liberations are interconnected. Real solidarity requires other groups to stand with Black Americans. We tried to build coalition with these other groups and they rejected us. Now they are experiencing the racism we experience. Welcome to the struggle. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast. Share on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. I have to pause for a minute. Gotta drink some more water. My throat is very dry. This is a lot of reading, but hey, it is what it is. So bear with me. Our third topic: why group economic matters. No one in America has sympathy for us. We must practice group economics. Nobody cares about our history. No, not immigrants, not public schools. We're watching immigrants groups increase in population while Black Americans continue to fight among ourselves. Nobody cares about our history of slavery in America. The civil rights movement is just another chapter in a history book. The white supremacist financial elites has flooded America with immigrants who are very hostile towards Black Americans. They have zero interest in learning about our story. They're just here to get the bag. And to them, Black American history is irrelevant. Some of them come from countries with their own anti Black racism and oppression. Why would they prioritize ours? They're here to get the bag and build their own American dream. Many of them see Black Americans as their competition. American public schools are doing everything possible to erase our history. They're banning books, they're limiting the curriculum, they're calling our history divisive or critical race theory to offend white parents. They don't teach the truth about Black Wall Street or Rosewood. They don't teach about redlining, convict lease, conv, convent laws, how the GI Bill excluded Black veterans, about how the New Deal built white wealth, while excluding Black Americans. That's intentional and that's done by design. Here's what we're facing. Immigrants make up an increasing percentage of the population with no ancestral connection to our struggle. We have an educational system that is actively preventing people from learning what was done to us. In GRCAM Chicago, we will teach our members and students about financial literacy and about practicing group economics and building our own economic base within our community. We will build our own Black institution. These other groups support their own businesses. They hire their own people. They create networks that funnel opportunities to their community, and nobody calls that divisive. Nobody accused them of being racist. Nobody tells them that they need to stop thinking about ethnicity and just be an American. Meanwhile, Black Americans who fought in every American war, who invented countless technologies and cultural exports, are still debating whether we should practice group economics or not. We still arguing about whether supporting Black businesses is reverse racism. If Black Americans don't wake up in 20 years from now, we're going to be working for immigrants. We're going to be renting from immigrant landlords who bought property in Black neighborhoods. We're going to be shopping at immigrant owned stores in Black neighborhoods. We're going to be watching immigrant politicians represent districts that are majority Black while doing nothing for Black constituents. They will be controlling resources, wealth, and power that should belong to Black Americans based on our centuries of contribution and suffering in this country. It will be our fault because we had the knowledge, we had the numbers, and we had the roadmap. The Jewish community practiced group economics. The Asian community also practiced group economics. The Latino community builds political influence through voting blocks and business networks. The evidence is overwhelming, and still too many Black Americans refuse to implement it. Instead, what we do, we complain online. On X, we post about injustice. We record videos about what's wrong, and then we go spend our money everywhere except at Black businesses. We refuse to unify with other like-minded Black Americans. We gatekeep our own success instead of creating ladders for others in the community. We practice hyper-individualism while every other group practice collective advancement. I'm talking about the ones who complain about economic inequality, but won't drive an extra 10 minutes to support a black business, uh, black owned restaurant. I'm talking about the ones who want community unity but won't attend a community meeting. Here's the psychological reality. Black Americans have been traumatized by racism, so condition, conditions by integration rhetoric, so damaged by internal division that we're internalized behavior that work against our collective interest. Based on this Willie Lynch letter, we've been taught that thinking about ourselves as a group is wrong, while every other group does it without an apology. We've been taught that supporting our own is somehow racist, while other communities practice explicit ethnic favoritism. We've been taught that asking for what we're owed is being divisive, while other group lobby aggressively for their interests. We've been psychologically colonized into thinking that our liberation comes through providing ourselves by proving ourselves to white America rather than building for ourselves. The clock is ticking. With every year passing, um, Black American loses economic ground and political ground. With every election cycle, our political influence dilute as other groups organize more effectively. With every business closure in our communities, our economic power weakens while other groups strengthens. We are watching our position in America decline in real time, and too many of us are doing nothing about it. What is the solution? It starts with a mindset shift. We have to decide that Black collective advancement is our priority, not proving you're not racist to other people who will never accept you anyway. We have to get comfortable with the idea that supporting Black businesses, hiring Black professionals, voting for Black candidates, and investing in Black neighborhoods is not wrong. It's survival. Every other group does this. We have to get our politicians from the soil, meaning from the Black grassroots, and vote them in local elections as mayors, city councils, and on school boards. These politicians shapes our daily lives. Black candidates in these positions can direct resources, contracts, and opportunities to Black communities. Show up to vote. We have to build our own Black networks with access to Black professionals such as doctors, lawyers, and engineers and teachers. Partner with other Black entrepreneurs. Create closed loop where Black money circulates within Black communities multiple times. Invest in Black institutions, HBCUs, Black churches, Black civil organizations. These are the backbones of our community. As I mentioned in my revised book, we need mentors, young Black professionals, and create pathways of advancement. Pull resources for major investments. We need legitimate Black investments, clubs, Black credit unions, Black venture capital. We have to hold Black elected officials accountable for non action. Support them, but demand economic tangible for them to deliver to the African American community or Black community. Too many Black politicians took Black votes for granted while doing nothing substantial for Black um, constituents. In GRCAM Chicago, we will teach our members and our students about how to organize. Show up to city council meetings, form neighborhood associations, and create political action committees. Black Americans today are less organized than we were 60 years ago. The County of Chicago will take the lead in teaching the next generation. Since our public schools won't teach our history, we have to. They need to know where they came from, what we survived, what we built, and what we're capable of. We need to understand group economics not as theory but as necessity. They need role models who demonstrate Black excellence and Black unity. And we have to combat against the crab in the bucket mentality. When a Black person succeeds, celebrate them and ask how you can help them succeed. When Black business struggles, support them. When Black leaders emerge, protect them and amplify them instead of tearing them down over imperfection. We cannot afford internal division when external threats are this serious. Black Americans is at a crossroad. Black America has two choices: either embrace annihilation or embrace survival. We are only working with GRCAM members who want to survive in America. We can continue complaining about injustice while doing nothing systematic to change our position and watch as we become economically and politically irrelevant in the country our ancestors built. Or we can finally implement the group economics that our ancestors encourage us to use. We can unify, we can organize, we can build, we can create the economic and political power that makes us impossible to ignore. Nobody is coming to save us, not the Democrats, not the Republicans, not immigrants who are too busy building their own power. It's up to us. Practice group economics or wither on the vine. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Thank you all for listening to our audio podcast. We greatly appreciate it. If you see a survey and it asks you questions that you like the stream, say yes. It's educational. Give us a good rating because those ratings help recommend more content. I'm going to send a challenge out to everybody that's listening to this audio podcast. I need you all to support our film project so that we can move beyond cyberspace and get our story on the big screen. So that to let the whole Black world know who we are and what we're trying to do for our people that's trapped in American ghettos, starting in Chicago. Quote, help stop the genocide in American ghettos. Sorry, said the wrong thing. Quote, Hood Liberator, made in Chicago, the war against, oh Lord. The war against Willie Lynch begins, unquote. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our crowdfunding pages, which are our GoFundMe page, our Buy Me a Coffee page, or our PayPal Giving Fund page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, legal, and general expenses. If you are a U.S. citizen, then I recommend that you donate to our PayPal Giving Fund page because you can use it as a tax write-off because this is a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit faith-based and community advocacy organization. You can also purchase items from our virtual store or purchase my revised book. The ebook is $9.99, or the softcover book is $15 plus shipping and handling. We appreciate your support. You can find all of the links below this audio podcast in the comments section below. Thank you for listening to our YouTube live or the replay. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing. I want to thank all of you for listening to our audio podcast on Spotify and Podchaser. If you are new to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast, welcome to our safe space where we discuss Black issues and African issues. We do this every week. This will conclude our audio podcast for today. See you on the next episode. Now, before I cut and run, because that was a lot of material, and again, I'm doing all of this stuff not for my health, but just trying to connect with real, like-minded Black Americans and African immigrants, as well as the global African family. You all that I'm trying to connect with. The first thing I want to pull up on the screen is my YouTube page. And so here it is. So I'm grateful. I got 599 subscribers. But on Facebook alone, I have 1,000. I forgot the rest of, I'm going to just say 1,800 people. It would be nice if I have that many people to subscribe. And then, it's free to subscribe. I'm looking at right here where it says videos. So I'm just going to use this as an example, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I got that. I got it muted. Okay, but I'm scrolling down and see it says this is the main thing I want you all to see, where it says my credibility. Okay. I put this on every audio podcast that I do and upload on YouTube. So under my credibility, this is where you would find my book. Okay. The softcover book as well as the ebook. Under where it says my Amazon author page. Again, this falls under my credibility. So I just wanted to show y'all that. See, the Kindle book is available $9.99. Paperback $15 plus shipping and handling. Again, this is the foundation of my Christian business right here, but it's separate from the business. Because right now I only have the business title. I don't have a physical building because I'm not making any money, unfortunately. Can't make people buy the book. It is what it is, y'all. But here it is. This is my attempt trying to do something productive. Wrote my ideas and everything. Trying to recruit brave and smart people to help me run this thing. You know what I'm saying? This is why I'm online. Don't want to do this for the rest of my life, but I'm just doing the best that I can with the resources that I have. But doggone it, I'm going to make sure that this business is going to be the best. That's why it's important that we weed out the wrong type of people. Yes, you got a lot of businesses that's already out there in the Black community, but a lot of them ain't doing what they're supposed to do because they're in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites. They want to see us kill each other, be disorganized. You know what I'm saying? And we will have a second chance program for ex-offenders for nonviolent crimes, former gang members, and homeless individuals. Because, it's not about just me trying to recruit Christians. I want to recruit secular people as well. But my main thing is everybody's going to get checked up in my business. I'm running my business the way I run my home, drama free, just being real. I know a lot of people don't like that, but hey, it is what it is. This is our GoFundMe page. I had it out for the whole 2025 and did not get any donations whatsoever. I'm like, good Lord. Here it is. No donation. So I got to change this. Sometimes what happens over here on our GoFundMe page, it says that they have to shut it down because it's not active. I'm like, hey, I understand. But then black people want to sit up here and mark. I mean, hold on. For example, the six what's that 600,000 black women was laid off this year alone because they working for somebody else. Here I am trying to start a black business. Work with me. Know what I'm saying? So we're gonna by the end of this week, we're gonna get it changed to 2026 over here. But yeah, I didn't get any donations at all this year. That's all right. That's fine. And then again, I'm showing you all this because this is what I'm documenting. That's how come I'm showing it to you. I'm trying to do something. Oh, ask me a silly question. Some of my I would say critics say, "Well, what have you done?" I say, "Hey, read my story. And that way you'll know what I've done. I'm not going to sit up here waste time explaining to you what I did. That's why I wrote the book. This is our PayPal giving fund page. I'm gonna have to change that because that was for 2025. But that's how come I want to have my management team to be on these screens with me for us to, get the ball rolling, just like they did for Kamala. Raised $1 million for that lady. That lady didn't do anything for the black community, and she raised more money than Trump, and she still lost. But if she would have won, all she would have did was left those borders open. And that's what's going to happen once the Democrats get back in power. So it's just a tit for tat. Got to go through this kind of foolishness because, my business is not up and running. And again, here's buy me a coffee. Just letting y'all know I'm trying. No donations at all. Been out the whole year, 2025. But I want people to purchase the book first. Then, when you become a member, donate, once a month, whatever you can, from $5 up to $100. Every little bit helps, but that will be geared toward our film project because once we do this film, hey, that's all I can do. And whatever I earn from that, that's what we're going to do so I can hire my staff. Now here's the actual GRCAM store right here, ladies and gentlemen. Click on that. We're trying to sell things. Yes, it's a little pricey because I gotta pay these people. You know what I'm saying? I even have to pay Amazon. So this stuff is not cheap. That's why I'm saying purchase the book first. That's a help. All righty. So that's how you find my information on YouTube. When I keep saying go to the comment section, and that's the comment section right here. My credibility. All right. What else I would like to show you? Just bear with me. This is my Medium page. I'm encouraging all my listeners. I only got 42 people on here. I'm encouraging all my listeners to follow me over here. So, and then all of my, I would say, latest presentations, I post it right here in the pin section. So you click on that and you can read, my speech word for word. And not only that, yeah, this is a lot of material. This is why, I have to read this stuff. Shoot, I don't memorize all of this stuff. but I read it because I want to stay consistent. I write this stuff up. I do the research, and I provide. I come with receipts, so that's why I'm showing you all of this. I'm not on here playing games, not doing all this stuff to make people like me. I'm trying to recruit brave and smart people to put these ideas into action. But I try to use, what's going on currently in real life. So under show and prove, that's it's about Donald Trump, or President Donald Trump, restricting foreigners here in America. And I'm not going to go into that. You can click on that yourself. Um, this is something about how Trump's Africa ban impacts Africa and the diaspora unity. See, Black Americans should have listened to me 34 years ago. It should have embraced this thing. This business should have been up and running in at least 5 cities and in at least 5 African nations by now. But hey, it is what it is. People want to act funny style. That's why I'm saying, hey, I'm doing the best that I can. So, and I thank God for this technology, because I would have took all this stuff to my grave. And again, I want to create the best African American business in the United States, which is GRCAM Chicago. All right. And so under show and prove, this is where I get a lot of my sources from, especially stuff like this under the TikTok videos. Look at those things, you know. I would pull up one of them. It's kind of about a sister. Well, I even hate to call her a sister, because she was saying that, hey, she don't want to build with Black Americans. She just come here to take. Matter of fact, I'm finna play her video right now. All right, let me do that right now. So it's her right here, the mindset of some African immigrants. So you see, those are the ones that comes over here and also be talking, trash about, Black Americans, and that's not cool. And so this is why it's taking me forever and a day to get this thing up and running. Because a lot of them, are on their own now. Here, that's people like her begging Black Americans to help. Oh, let's unify. They were talking about that unifying now when ICE start, coming around them and snatching them up, because we can't get deported. We're I don't want to say the foundation, but we're the soil of America. It was our ancestors that built this nation. So over here, I like to use the term, like I say, descendants of American slaves / freedmen. That's what we use over here, because we're not under Tariq Nasheed's camp. I've been doing my stuff before he came on the scene, but trying to get the business, like I say, up and running so I can move from behind a computer. And I'm going down so that way you could see a lot of this stuff. Yes, it's a lot of information because I don't be on here playing. I'm here to drop knowledge. These are my receipts. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Alrighty, I'm almost done. Just bear with me, please. Yes, I got a little more just to show you. I recommend that you would befriend me over here. This is my Substack. So over here, I'm gonna just say no. I'm finna get over there. And so here's my speech again. See, that was last week. I was talking about that stuff. Every every week, I try to post something different. But I'm gonna click on it and see it's the same. It's my speech. Cause I'm on, like I told you, I'm on here. I'm trying to get my message out there. Okay. So, and I got this up. I want to, for you, some of you that don't want to exchange emails, which I'm just saying, if you're serious about doing business with me, exchange emails. But some of y'all don't want to do that, so hey, it is what it is. Connect with me on my TikTok page. Then, even though I don't have a lot of people on TikTok like I would like to, but yeah. So this is my page here. So it would be TikTok.com, / at Emmanuel Barbie Online. So send me a friend request over here, and you can network with me that way. If you don't want to exchange emails, but the best way, if you're serious, exchange emails with me. I send you everything I do online. Here's my Facebook page for those of you that might not know how to connect with me. So it's this one, not the other one. The other one right here, I can't really use. Last year, like I told you, I believe it was somebody that works at Facebook. They sent me a virus and locked me out of my main Facebook page. This is my backup Facebook page right here. So I can't really access my main page like I used to. So yeah, it crashed my cell phone, and it also locked me out. They sent me a virus which crashed my cell phone and also locked me out of my main Facebook page, which is right here. But that's all right. This is my backup page right here. So I try not to use I just use email instead of using my smartphone number because I don't want any more viruses, and this is how I have to survive until I make it big, and then I don't have to depend on being on social media like that. That's what I want to do, make it big so we can create our own app, just like the African Diaspora News Channel. They are our competitors. Even though I do enjoy listening to it, it says a lot of interesting things that I like. But yeah, we will compete with the African Diaspora News Channel with Phil Scott. But for right now, I enjoy listening to his stuff, and I post it on my page. You know, ain't nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. All right. With that being said, that's going to conclude our show for today. Thank you all for listening. And again, If you want to come on here, just send me a message through my Facebook page that you would like to come on here to promote your business, your music, your books, um, your ministry. You're welcome to do that. And once I make it big, once we get this film project fully funded and made, and then we'll just start charging a small fee because that's just how I have to do things because I'm gonna be paying my employees, and a lot of it's gonna be more responsibility. So that's just how we're gonna have to do it. All right. Um, Happy New Year's again in advance, and hopefully I will be seeing you all on Monday, and Tuesday will be my last time checking in for the year. All righty, until next year then. Peace and blessings.